Okay, well, with the corona coof going around and our incarceration, the coronavidian captivity, I think that was an opportune time to talk about the sin of sloth. With many of us being cooped up, well, many, I think it encourages a sort of stagnancy. A stagnancy that I'm going to address in today's video on the sin of sloth. Now, this sort of sin is what I believe to be the most insidious, possibly the most destructive of the seven deadly sins, because it prevents the most people from achieving their true destiny. Why is this? Because it works progressively. You see, as we day by day go about honing our skills, undergoing the necessary process in order to prepare ourselves for our ultimate destiny, sloth tends to, by means of apathy, whittle away at us over the course of time. It tends to maximize our perception of our burdens and minimize our the gratitude we can have, the good that we see all around us, both within us, around us, yes, and the ultimate good. Now, what this apathy does, caused by sloth, is that it causes a fundamental disconnect between our more primal imperatives and additionally our higher spiritual will. And because of these two disconnects, we have a hard time taking care of ourselves. We have a hard time taking care of others. We have a hard time following the moral imperatives placed upon us by a higher power. But before we continue onward, this is Wicked Generation, and we are its redeemed. Ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, codename moniker pending. Used to be Monarch, but I digress. Let me tell you about sloth, and the virtue that lies in the midst of these vices. Discipline. You've heard the word a bajillion times before, but it's not slamming your head against the wall, keeping on the grind. Now, what is important, you're not going to willpower your way all willy-nilly through it. That's foolhardy. As a matter of fact, we have to first understand is that we commit the sin of sloth for want of peace. For want of peace that will ultimately never come. We grow comfortable in our discomfort. And rather than ultimately taking actions are immediately painful, discomforting even, more so than we're feeling them now. Right now, we'd rather go through a slow burn while our problems eat away at us externally, while the sloth within rots us from the inside. We'd rather do all of that than take care of what needs to be dealt with now. Why? Because instant gratification. And so we'll avoid the upcoming deadlines. We'll put off the things that should long have since been done. We'll run away from our problems in pursuit of peace. But the answer is discipline. Not overworking oneself, but the proper diligence and work put towards the correct courses of action, to the cultivation of a correct attitude. What does this look like? No, yes, it's doing the right work, but it's doing the work that's truly productive. Productive in the sense that adds value to our own life, the lives of others, and brings us closer to our destiny, and ultimately improves our fate. That's what I mean by discipline. It goes hand in hand with a proper restraint, knowing when to rest, and self-care too, the correct kind of rest that goes hand in hand with the correct work that we are to do. I mean, people, they will overwork themselves. They will work 120-hour work weeks in order to avoid their problems, in order to escape a sort of lacking in any other sense they want. And, most of the oftentimes, it's not even greed. These people oftentimes have something to run away from when you overwork yourselves. And, well, people that are just lazy in general, well, yeah, they're also running from something, or rather, they're hiding. But you can run, you can hide, but the problem is, whether it be in this life or the next, they will come for you, ladies and gentlemen. And so we must equip ourselves. Okay, take the idea of bodybuilding, for instance, okay? You put in the work today in order to become stronger tomorrow. Unless you let sloth eat away at you inside. Unless you let these faculties, this capacity to exercise quite a bit of strength, that will all atrophy, that will all dwindle over the course of time if you're not training. And, well, what happens if you overtrain? You're going to hurt yourself. And that is important recognizing. A, you have to take care of yourself afterwards. You have to do the correct type of rest. And B, you only have a finite amount of willpower. Now, I'm going to give you a good exercise, a sort of a good strategy to maximize the use of willpower. But let's talk about willpower first. You only have a certain amount of it. And you might have a very small amount to start off with. But that's okay. Take small bounds. Clean out your room if you must, as Jordan Pierce would say. Anything that changes anything immediately in your environment. And the more you begin to conquer, the more you begin to do, you're able to take larger and larger steps. Why is this? Well, I mentioned before that sloth progressively eats away at us, right? It's the perfect counteraction to the slow and gradual development that we take to get ourselves ready to conquer the world, you know? And in that regard, as I didn't mention before, well, in that regard, I mean, there's a certain amount of inertia that you have to overcome once you begin to combat your stagnancy. And yeah, there's a few ways to know about it. But first, let me bring up the fact that if you do start on this path, you overcome that inertia, you're going to begin to build momentum. And then what you see is with, well, quite a few of the world's most greatest visionaries, most powerful people, yeah, they may have had a good starting amount of talent, absolutely. But they took their day-to-day approach to hone that. And each achievement led, and again, there's seldom like an instant win-done success. It is a process. A process that will bring you happiness, that will bring you, if you walk by faith and, fulfill your destiny. As a Christian, it's something that will bring you happiness, it will bring you joy, it will bring you fulfillment as you begin to serve God in your path. And in balancing, if you find this point of balance, of discipline, of the right self-restraint, as well as the right self-care, you should go out and do the work, as well as recover, I mean, you'd be set. But if that rambling is a good strategy to start you off, I promise you this, and here it is. When you need to rest, rest. When you feel drowsy, rest. When you feel the need to bored, and you feel bored and you kind of need a little bit of entertainment, rather you've done quite a bit of work and you feel the urge to play a little. All right, play a little. Pick up some video, pick up a controller, play some video games, watch a movie maybe. Fine, fair enough. But when you actually do feel bored, when you don't feel the need to rest anymore, when you feel that initial pang of, hey, I need to get this done, that's the time. That's the time that you actually go out and do the work. And as a necessary addendum, let's talk about your more animalistic side as well as your more spiritual side, or higher spiritual will, right? For the more animalistic side, you need to learn to engage. It's very handy to learn to engage your more neurochemical interests. I think I'll tell you that much. Your inner junkie, if you would. And sometimes are a very powerful thing if you know how to wield them correctly. Now, they only work so many times before you begin to get bored of any given sort of incentive. So space them out if you would. But your more animalistic self is going to come to your aid when it senses a pressing threat. So if you can, in any way, raise the stakes. Maybe some of your resources are at a risk. Maybe you've supplied $100 to your friend to give to a charity. If you fail to do something, that's an idea. As far as your higher spiritual will, right? That tends to be a bit more of you being under the affliction of sorrow. Now, that, by the way, again, you can be disengaged in your more animalistic side and your more spiritual sense through, of course, just general disengagement, chemical disengagement, and the more animalistic side and sorrow through the higher self. But, yeah, there's a result of some discouragement, possibly depression, some things that are certainly worth checking out. And as far as that is concerned, it's a much more nuanced sort of thing. But you need a win. That's what you need. Well, that's most often the case, anyways. You need the assurance of victory. And again, that's why I recommended taking just little steps. Things are manageable. And then you can work your way up to more abstract, overarching threats towards your the fulfillment of your destiny, right? I think that's one of the most important themes, or recurring themes, when it comes to sloth. It is, I think, out of all other sins, the most teleological threat, if you would. Impacts you the most over the course of your venture and through until the end. It's not something that's going to ruin you in the one and done sort of thing, not likely anyways. It's going to do you in over the course of time. It's going to will you down through apathy. And another note on procrastination. Okay, procrastination is sometimes a very necessary mechanism that we have to let ourselves know that we need more time. Or rather, it's a good strategy for developing our thoughts. But it's only procrastination and not laziness. It's not self-destructive when you initially put in the work to do your initial research, okay? You need to lay the groundwork out. And then, once you've done that, once you've taken the time to go off to the side and put off the work, as you subconsciously build an understanding, once you leave it to simmer a little bit in your head, you'll eventually be ready. But when you first feel the pangs of that looming deadline, you need to get to work. That's what makes proper procrastination. That's what makes procrastination productive. Ladies and gentlemen, what are you doing to combat your most avoidant tendencies? And in tackling your problems, have you found the peace that you so sought for? Tell me in the comments below. This has been the Wicked Generation, and we are Please follow me on Instagram at we.r_wicked. I look forward to hearing from you. Like, comment, and subscribe, all that, and peace be upon you all. And until the next time, thank you.